Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir are both prominent French existentialists who met in Paris in 1929 and share some of the same ideas regarding philosophical concepts and ideals. According to Oxford Languages, existentialism is a philosophical theory or approach which emphasizes the existence of the individual person as a free and responsible agent determining their own development through acts of the will. They are considered atheistic existentialists and believe that freedom is the defining characteristic of being human. According to them, one's existence is purely by chance, and therefore it is up to an individual to decipher some sort of meaning or purpose within their own life. Considered one of the largest figures in the philosophy of existentialism, Sartre is a staunch advocate for the idea that it is impossible for humans to have any innate purpose. He believes that life is left up to every individual to decipher for themselves. As an atheistic existentialist, Sartre denies the existence of any God and denounces religion entirely. In his piece Existentialism and Humanism, he says that everything is indeed permitted if God does not exist, and man is in consequence forlorn, for he cannot find anything to depend upon, either within or outside himself. Simone de Beauvoir is also a prominent figure in the philosophy of existentialism and shares in many of Sartre's ideas, but is hailed by many as a feminist icon due to her advocacy between equality of the sexes. In what is arguably her most famous work, The Second Sex, she explains that women exist in society as other as opposed to men, elaborating that a man thinks himself without woman. Woman does not think herself without man. As an existentialist, de Beauvoir places a strong value on human freedom and also is in agreement with Sartre that human beings do not serve any innate purpose and rather should give meaning to their own lives by employing their freedom. While I am not an existentialist myself, I do agree with the perspective that individuals should employ their own personal freedoms in order to chase their interests and do what makes them happy in order to give their lives purpose. Sartre believes that our existence as humans is entirely up to chance and there is no innate purpose or meaning to our lives besides what we decide to do with our freedom. And I do find myself agreeing with this take on the purpose of life because I feel that evaluating a meaningful life is entirely subjective, and I think that it should be entirely left up to someone to determine what they deem as meaningful and what they deem as purposeful to themselves, because everyone has different experiences. And I think it is unfair to apply the same qualifications or criteria to every person on what qualifies as meaningful, because everyone's circumstances and experiences are vastly different. And one person may feel that their life is meaningful and another may feel that under those same circumstances their life was not meaningful. And so I feel as if determining such should be entirely on an individual basis, and I agree with the existentialist ideals outlined by Sartre and de Beauvoir that present such an idea that human freedom is fundamental to our experience here on Earth, and we should rely on ourselves to find purpose, as long as no other humans and society is not being harmed or impeded upon in the process. For the most part, I agree with the existentialist take on the meaning of life. I also was interested in covering these two philosophers due to my interest in de Beauvoir's feminist theory and her more liberal for the time takes on gender roles and a woman's role in society. In the book, de Beauvoir challenged the notion that there were some sort of natural causes that resulted in differences between how men and women process issues such as the economy, society, culture, politics, and debunked such while raising feminist consciousness and supporting ideals that promoted equality between the sexes. She claims that man is defined as a human being and a woman as a female. Whenever she behaves as a human being, she is said to imitate the male. Woman is shut up in a kitchen, and astonishment is expressed that her horizon is limited. Her wings are clipped, and it is found deplorable that she cannot fly. Let but the future be open to her, and she will no longer be compelled to linger in the present. I feel that de Beauvoir's advocacy for gender equality is so crucial, especially in regards to the existentialist theory of the purpose of life, because it is up to every individual person to decipher purpose and meaning out of their own life by pursuing their interests. But for so long, women were not allowed or provided the opportunity to explore their interests in the same manner as men were. They were treated as inferior beings and ushered to occupy roles in a more domestic setting as opposed to pursuing higher education or just engaging in interests that were outside of that domestic scope or domestic sphere. And so I feel that de Beauvoir's advocacy for equality of the sexes went a long way in helping women come to terms with the idea that their purpose may be in a role outside of that domestic, family-oriented sphere that for so long they believed was their only true calling or their only substantial contribution to society. And so in this existentialist perspective on the meaning of life, that every person has to employ their own freedom to find purpose, I feel that de Beauvoir's work went a long way in terms of helping more people come to terms with how women's liberation will impact all facets of society, and it will also prove beneficial for men as well. And thus, women being provided more opportunities within society will help them explore and achieve purpose within their own life in ways that were not possible before, thus factoring into this existentialist theory and proving that liberation will reap greater benefits onto society. So for my final thoughts, I will just summarize everything thus far covered in this video. I agree with the existentialist theory regarding the purpose of life. I think that it is entirely subjective and people should be able to employ their freedom to make their own decisions, and only they have the right to determine if their life was meaningful or not, or purposeful, because everyone's experiences are different, and I feel it is unfair to apply the same criteria to all people given how vastly different the experiences of different populations are. And I find it very fascinating the manner in which Simone de Beauvoir so extensively covered the women's liberation movement and a woman's role in society in her piece, The Second Sex. And I feel that her ideals all factor into this existentialist ideal of human freedom and why women should be provided the same opportunities as men to explore their freedom, as this is the only way for humans to live properly, as according to the existentialist ideal.